Hey there, welcome back to Borsidi. I am Kurt, and today I've got a bit of a different video. It's not meant to replace a project video. We'll have those uploaded hopefully on schedule, but I would like to have these sort of periodic vlog updates on my channel so that you can understand where I'm coming from and what I'm doing with my channel, where I'm going and what is its purpose. So let's get to it. Where do I begin? I would like to preface this by saying that I have never studied media or videography, and I have never been taught how to edit videos. I've never been taught on different kinds of cameras and lenses and stuff like that. So I learned all of it. I learned most of that myself, going along, sort of trying stuff out. I hope that I've been doing a decent enough job on my channel in terms of editing. I feel like I've been improving, both in shooting the different angles. It's not just, having the GoPro in the garage, shooting everything, wide angle, and then just slapping it together and calling it a video. I'm trying to focus a bit more on sort of where my hands are, sort of focusing the camera on what I'm doing with my hands, the important part, and I think it's going well. I think I've been improving in quality. I hope that you agree. If you don't, that's fine. You can always leave me comments on how I can improve further. I always love reading those, honestly. It makes me feel as if I'm part of a community, which is something that I am sort of not accustomed to in the sense of making. Speaking of making, I don't know whether you follow my blog. It's borsidi.net. Quite doggy. It's borsidi.net, and basically on it I usually write detailed descriptions of my projects. Whatever I make on YouTube, I usually write a detailed description on it, for no reason really, but I just enjoy doing it, and I think people who would like to so there are some people who follow better the written word rather than a video per se, and some people just watch videos for the entertainment purpose, and I get that. I do that sometimes. I watch a lot of YouTube makers just to entertain myself, or sort of while I'm having lunch or while I'm having breakfast or something on the weekend. It's fun. So I get that as well. I get that not everyone is here to learn something, but I feel like I should sort of go into what I hope to accomplish with my channel. Honestly, it's something that I've struggled with in the past, and I think, if I have to be honest, it's something that I still struggle with nowadays. I mean, is it just a maker's channel? Is it a channel where I just build stuff? Is it a channel where I teach you how to build stuff? Is it a mixture of both? Is it neither? It's something that's a bit difficult to pinpoint, really. I started out wanting it to be my experiences in making. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I don't do things as well as I should. Honestly, because I'm not an expert. I'm not a woodworker, I'm not a metal worker, I'm not an expert in 3D printing, I am not an expert in anything. Recently, I've started a bit of resin casting. Hopefully you'll see a couple of videos on it. But the point is that I am not an expert at what I do in the garage. And honestly, that's fine. I believe it's fine, because you get to see it from a student's point of view, something which I think is not done very often. Speaking from experience, I have to say, speaking to the camera like this is weird. Yeah, speaking from experience, okay, let's back up a bit. Let's talk about my experiences as a maker. On my blog recently, I've written a post on how I started making, where at least how I got on the path to making, and it was through prop making and 3D printing. But if I have to say what drove me into this path of making, into getting into woodworking, into buying the tools, there are several factors. When I was young, I used to spend a lot of time with my grandfather in his garage, and he used to give me like a piece of wood, a couple of nails, and a hammer. I used to hammer them together into a cross or something, and for me it was a project. I used to spend time with my father's uncle in his, well, it's like a small workshop above their home. And I used to wire plugs and, I don't know, replace fuses and stuff like that. It was all a lot of fun, and I always enjoyed doing that. So I think that I've always been a bit of a maker, and even in terms of toys and stuff, my favorite were always like the blocks, Legos, and Meccano, and that kind of stuff. So you could say that I was always a bit of a maker, but recently, well, throughout my life, I never did anything with that. I went into sciences, and I've never done anything with regards to making as a profession. So there's that. But recently, in the past 3-4 years especially, I've been watching a lot of YouTube makers. I've been watching people like Bob Claggett, people like Jimmy DiResta, Peter Brown, Dave Picciuto. You know, there's so many people, and I feel really bad not mentioning them all, but otherwise this video would be like 2 hours long. But there are so many great makers out there, and I follow them almost religiously. And one of the problems that I have, I'm circling back to the whole student perspective, so I haven't forgotten that just yet. But what I found very difficult in the beginning was believing that I could be a maker, or that it felt as if you needed to be born with this kind of skill, or a talent, if you will. It took me a bit of time. It took me a lot of videos and a lot of sort of convincing myself that I could just buy some EVA foam, go in the garage, get a utility knife, bit of glue, and I could make something, a small prop made out of foam. But once I did that, and this is the great part, that once I did that, I felt so great about myself. I felt so satisfied. The project was horrid. I mean, the I've only got one picture of it because I've scrapped it since then. But the point is not the product. You know, the point is the journey going to the product. And I've learned so much. I've learned a bit more about foam craft. I learned a bit on different kind of adhesives, what kinds of blades you should use, on sealing the foam in this particular example. But the point is that most importantly, I learned that I could do it. So fast forward a couple of years, I bought my first 3D printer. I bought the Prusa i3 Mark II, and some of my closest friends will remember that I made a channel called Boards 3D, and I uploaded the build, which was basically just a time lapse of me building it, and with a bit of commentary on the side. But the sound was so horrid. I received a lot of views on it, something which blew my mind. But I also received a lot of negative comments, and I deleted the videos and deleted the channel. I said, if I'm going to start, I'm going to start over, and I regret deleting that video. But it's something that you learn along the way. I think that you should stand by whatever you make, no matter how horrible it is. It's your thing, But mistakes made, lessons learned. The reason why I upload videos nowadays is because I want you to see what I'm doing. I want to learn. So I mostly learn by doing stuff. I learn from experience, and I do absolutely enjoy that. I mean, yes, mistakes are frustrating when you're doing a project and something doesn't fit right or something doesn't glue on right, and it's really frustrating. But then again, you've learned something from it. At least I have. And what I hope that the message that I'm trying to convey through my videos and through my channel is precisely the end line of every video, that everyone is a maker. And I believe that everyone can be a maker, whether you do origami, whether you do foam craft, woodworking, whether you turn wood, whether you're a sculptor, or you know, whatever you do, whatever you make, you can be a maker. And that is what I try to get across, that if I'm doing something like this, then sure as hell you can. Back to the channel. I aim at uploading a video once a week, on a Sunday preferably, but I am still a bit far away from that goal. I don't have enough time or resources to make a video every week, even though I would love to, and hopefully one day I will manage, but I'm still working out my process, but you know, it's moving towards that goal. I'm trying my best to sort of keep it at least once every 2 weeks, but sometimes I make a bit of a project or I edit it in not so good a manner, and basically I try to have quality over quantity. So I might skip a couple of deadlines just to have a good video coming up, but I want you to know that I'm still working on them. I'm still doing my best to try. I don't have an editor, I don't have a cameraman, I do everything myself, I shoot everything myself, and that's fine. I enjoy that, I love that. But yeah. So I'm going to try and be a bit more active in terms of uploads. I'm going to try and sort of at least be consistent every 2 weeks, if not that. I'm sorry, I hope you'll forgive me, and I hope that you'll still watch my videos anyway, whenever I upload them. So yeah, I've got a couple of good projects coming up. I have a really huge, well, personally, it is a huge project because, again, as I said, because of the time and resources, it has to be done over a couple of weeks. It's really cool. We've already started working with it. I'm working with a friend on it. So cool, such a cool idea, and I think that it will pay off in the end. I hope that you will enjoy it when the time comes. I've been working more on props because I feel that they take less time to finish in terms of projects. However, I'm trying to build something, I won't spoil it just yet, but I'm trying to build a prop from a movie which lights up, and I've never soldered these kinds of LEDs before. If you've seen my earlier videos, you know that I made the sort of GoPro, not ring light, square light, whatever I called it back then. But that was just an LED strip and, just a battery, a 9-volt battery hooked onto it. But this is something different. I have to make space for the electronics on this prop, so there's a bit of thinking around it, and I'm going to solder an actual LED to it instead of a strip, which I believe is the same thing, but it's a new experience for me. You learn something new every day, so that's good. So yeah, I mean, the prop itself is finished. It's just the electronics that need to sort of be figured out. Just this morning I tried it, this afternoon I tried it, and so far it's worked great. So I hope to have a video on that coming up in the next week or two. Malta is such a tiny island, and it's kind of difficult. It's very rare to find other makers here. I'm trying to establish these contacts and these relationships with these different kinds of people that I'm meeting very recently, thanks to YouTube, thanks to my videos that I upload and that get shared by you people, and for that I thank you very much, because without you, I wouldn't have much of a purpose to upload videos, Malta is such a tiny island, and to find other makers, it's a bit rare. It's not a very common interest that you find here. And there's craftsmen, of course, there are craftsmen, but they're usually just that. You find woodworkers, you find carpenters, you find a blacksmith every now and then, but they're few and far apart, so you don't really get to meet a lot of them. There aren't any kind of maker fairs that get hosted in Malta, so the maker community is very, very small. At least we have a great community on YouTube, in terms that we have a great YouTuber community, because I don't know, maybe if you've heard, but recently YouTube decided to include Malta within its sort of program. So now we have youtube.com.mt, which is particular for Malta. It helps, Maltese viewers find Maltese YouTubers, and that's great. And in September, we're told that there's the YPP, the YouTube Partnership Program, which will be available for Maltese YouTubers as well, something which was not available before, and it's a great opportunity for us. I've already heard a couple of my friends talk about it. I know that KPR spoke about it. There have been news reports on it, and it's a huge deal for us. These kinds of things don't usually happen to us. We're such a tiny community, such a tiny island, about in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, that we don't really expect these kinds of things to happen for us. So it's a huge opportunity, and for that, there's one person to thank, really, Fabian. Thank you so much, because honestly, without his help and without his efforts and his work, we wouldn't be where we are today in terms of YouTube community. So, yeah, thank you. With that being said, I am trying to establish a lot of different contacts with other YouTubers, not only local but also international, but especially local, because I want to sort of have this Maltese maker community one day, so we can collaborate on videos. I've got a lot of friends who are great cosplayers. I've written my blog post on on my start as a prop maker, so I'm starting making as a prop maker, and I mentioned some of my friends. I'm very sorry if I didn't mention everyone. As I said, I mean, there are so many great cosplayers and so many great makers on this tiny island, and it's very difficult to mention everyone. So yeah, I mean, I mentioned Andre, I mentioned Rachel, I mentioned Christine and Bernard and Gabby, and there's Kira, there's Mike, there's so many good people and so many talented cosplayers, and I really hope that in the future I can work Jason and John, and they're two of the founders of the Malta Comic Con cosplay community, I believe it's called. They're so great people. There are so many great people, and I really hope that one day I can work with them, and whether it's a piece of their costume. I'm not too much into cosplay myself. I have like 2 or 3 costumes, and that's what I wear. But these people work so hard on their costumes, and they spend months sewing and making props and 3D printing stuff. And as I said, I hope that perhaps one day we can work together on something, because it would be my honor, really. But yeah, that's something for the future. Well, there are some very exciting things coming up for Boards 3D, I think. So yeah, I hope that you keep tuned. I hope that you enjoy my projects, and I hope that I can try and be a bit more active in uploading, but I hope that you stick with me and that you are with me throughout this journey, because honestly, it's something that I really love doing and enjoy doing. So maybe if out of all the people that watch the videos, even just one person were to go to his garage or shop and pick a hammer, a couple of nails, a piece of wood, and make something, that for me that's worth it. And great. Well, I'll see you next time in a project video or another vlog video. I don't know which one I'll do first, but yeah, thank you very much for joining me. I'm Kurt from Boards 3D, and I'll see you next time.